Judas Maccabeus and his brethren, and the people of the Jews, have sent us to you to make alliance and peace with you, and that we may be registered your confederates and friends. And the proposal was pleasing in their sight. And this is the copy of the writing that they wrote back again, graven in tables of brass, and sent to Jerusalem, that it might be with them there for a memorial of the peace and alliance. Good success be to the Romans, and to the people of the Jews, by sea and by land, for ever. And far be the sword and enemy from them. But if there come first any war upon the Romans, or any of their confederates in all their dominions, the nation of the Jews shall help them according as the time shall direct, with all their heart. Neither shall they give them whilst they are fighting, or furnish them with wheat, or arms, or money, or ships, as it hath seemed good to the Romans, and they shall obey their orders, without taking anything of them. In like manner also, if war shall come first upon the nation of the Jews, the Romans shall help them with all their heart, according as the time shall permit them. And there shall not be given to them that come to their aid, either wheat, or arms, or money, or ships, as it hath seemed good to the Romans, and they shall observe their orders without deceit. According to these articles did the Romans covenant with the people of the Jews. And if after this one party or the other shall have a mind to add to these articles, or take away anything, they may do it at their pleasure, and whatsoever they shall add or take away shall be ratified. Moreover, concerning the evils that Demetrius the king hath done against them, we have written to him, saying, Why hast thou made thy yoke heavy upon our friends and allies, the Jews? If therefore they come again to us complaining of thee, we will do them justice, and will make war against thee by sea and land. End of chapter 8. Chapter 9. In the meantime, when Demetrius heard that Nicanor and his army were fallen in battle, he sent again Bacchidus and Alcimus into Judea, and the right wing of his army with them. And they took the road that leadeth to Galgal, and they camped in Masaloth, which is in Arabella. And they made themselves masters of it, and slew many people. In the first month of the 152nd year they brought the army to Jerusalem. And they arose and went to Berea, with 20,000 men, and 2,000 horsemen. Now Judas had pitched his tents in Lasa, and 3,000 chosen men with him. And they saw the multitude of the army, that they were many, and they were seized with great fear, and many withdrew themselves out of the camp, and there remained of them no more than 800 men. And Judas saw that his army slipped away, and the battle pressed upon him, and his heart was cast down, because he had not time to gather them together, and he was discouraged. Then he said to them that remained, Let us arise, and go against our enemies, if we may be able to fight against them. But they dissuaded him, saying, We shall not be able, but let us save our lives now, and return to our brethren, and then we will fight against them, for we are but few. Then Judas said, God forbid we should do this thing, and flee away from them. But if our time be come, let us die manfully for our brethren, and let us not stain our glory. And the army removed out of the camp, and they stood over against them. And the horsemen were divided into 2 troops, and the slingers and the archers went before the army. And they that were in the front were all men of valor. And Bacchides was in the right wing, and the legion drew near on 2 sides, and they sounded the trumpets. And they also that were on Judas's side, even they also cried out, and the earth shook at the noise of the armies. And the battle was fought from morning even unto the evening. And Judas perceived that the stronger part of the army of Bacchides was on the right side, and all the stout of heart came together with him. And the right wing was discomfited by them, and he pursued them even to the Mount Azotus. And they that were in the left wing saw that the right wing was discomfited, and they followed after Judas, and them that were with him at their back. And the battle was hard fought, and there fell many wounded of the one side and of the other. And Judas was slain, and the rest fled away. And Jonathan and Simon took Judas their brother, and buried him in the sepulchre of their fathers in the city of Modin. And all the people of Israel bewailed him with great lamentation, and they mourned for him many days, and said, How is the mighty man fallen that saved the people of Israel? But the rest of the words of the wars of Judas, and of the noble acts that he did, and of his greatness, are not written, for they were very many. And it came to pass after the death of Judas, that the wicked began to put forth their heads in all the confines of Israel, and all the workers of iniquity rose up. In those days there was a very great famine, and they and all their country yielded to Maccabees. And Maccabees chose the wicked men, and made them lords of the country. And they sought out and made diligent search after the friends of Judas, and brought them to Maccabees, and he took vengeance of them, and abused them. And there was a great tribulation in Israel, such as was not since the day that there was no prophet seen in Israel. And all the friends of Judas came together, and said to Jonathan, Since thy brother Judas died there, is not a man like him to go forth against our enemies, Maccabees and them that are the enemies of our nation? Now therefore we have chosen thee this day to be our prince, and captain in his stead, to fight our battles. So Jonathan took upon him the government at that time, and rose up in the place of Judas his brother. And Maccabees had knowledge of it, and sought to kill him. And Jonathan and Simon his brother knew it, and all that were with them. And they fled into the desert of Thukua, and they pitched by the water of the lake Asphar. And Maccabees understood it, and he came himself with all his army over the Jordan on the Sabbath day. And Jonathan sent his brother, a captain of the people, to desire the Nabutheans, his friends, that they would lend them their equipage, which was copious. And the children of Jambri came forth out of Madaba, and took John, and all that he had, and went away with them. After this it was told Jonathan and Simon his brother that the children of Jambri made a great marriage, and were bringing the bride out of Madaba, the daughter of one of the great princes of Canaan, with great pomp. And they remembered the blood of John their brother, and they went up and hid themselves under the covert of the mountain. And they lifted up their eyes, and saw, and behold, a tumult, and great preparation. And the bridegroom came forth, and his friends, and his brethren, to meet them with timbrels, and musical instruments, and many weapons. And they rose up against them from the place where they lay in ambush, and slew them. And there fell many wounded, and the rest fled into the mountains, and they took all their spoils. And the marriage was turned into mourning, and the noise of their musical instruments into lamentation. And they took revenge for the blood of their brother, and they returned to the bank of the Jordan. And Maccabees heard it, and he came on the Sabbath day even to the bank of the Jordan with a great power. And Jonathan said to his company, Let us arise and fight against our enemies, for it is not now as yesterday and the day before. For behold, the battle is before us, and the water of the Jordan on this side and on that side, and banks and marshes and woods, and there is no place for us to turn aside. Now therefore cry ye to heaven, that ye may be delivered from the hand of your enemies. And they joined battle. And Jonathan stretched forth his hand to strike Maccabees, but he turned away from him backwards. And Jonathan and they that were with him leapt into the Jordan, and swam over the Jordan to them. And there fell of Maccabees' side that day 1,000 men, and they returned to Jerusalem. And they built strong cities in Judea, the fortress that was in Jericho, and in Amos, and in Bethoron, and in Bethel, and Thamnata, and Pharah, and Thopo, with high walls and gates and bars. And he placed garrisons in them, that they might wage war against Israel. And he fortified the city of Bethsura, and Gazara, and the castle, and set garrisons in them, and provisions of victuals. And he took the sons of the chief men of the country for hostages, and put them in the castle in Jerusalem in custody. Now in the year 153, the 2nd month, Alchemist commanded the walls of the inner court of the sanctuary to be thrown down, and the works of the prophets to be destroyed. And he began to destroy. At that time Alchemist was struck, and his works were hindered, and his mouth was stopped, and he was taken with a palsy, so that he could no more speak a word, nor give order concerning his house. And Alchemist died at that time in great torment. And Bacchus saw that Alchemist was dead, and he returned to the king, and the land was quiet for 2 years. And all the wicked held a